What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to another video in my tutorial series for Java. Now I'm gonna continue where I left off the last video, which was basically isolating individual elements in a two-dimensional array, as we've seen in the previous video. Now today I'm gonna teach you how to iterate through a two-dimensional array. Now the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna have to use nested loops, and all that is a loop within a loop. So let's not don't overcomplicate this because this is really not that difficult. So just follow along and you'll be fine. Now, the first thing I want to do is create our for loop, and oops, I'm gonna want to create a counter. So I'm gonna create the counter. I'm gonna call this row. All right, I'm gonna initialize it to a value of 0. Now, the for my first argument or conditional, I'm gonna say, oops, if row is less than my two-dimensional array dot length, I'm gonna do something. Oops, sorry, I'm just so used to I. Let me change this to row. Now, what does this mean? This two-dimensional 2D array dot length. Now, all that means is the following. Because remember, the first column stands, the first square bracket here represents our row, and the second represents the number of columns, right? So just think about it this way. When we use this dot extension on a two-dimensional array, the dot length is gonna give us the number of rows. Okay, so just keep that in mind. When we use dot length on a two-dimensional array, it's gonna give us the number of rows. Okay. Now, the next thing to keep in mind is, okay, now that is great and all, right? But that's not what we want. We want to iterate not just through the first row, but we want to iterate through all the basically everything within the row. So this is where another for loop is needed, because right now we have a loop that basically allows us to traverse through these rows, which is why when we have this right here, two-dimensional arrays dot length, this is going to give us a value of 3, because that's what we have. We have 1, 2, 3 of these rows right here. Now we need to get the length of each element within this row. Okay, so the way we do that is with the following. So I'm going to type this out: for in column equals 0 as long as column is less than the value of, now look at this, two-dimensional arrays, and I'm going to have the square bracket notation. I'm going to put in the value of row dot length and column plus plus. And let's take a look at this code here. Why why do we have this? All right, let's take a look here. And the reasoning is quite simple, really. When we are, so let's just take a look at this first loop right here. When we are in this loop, after we are done executing this, what happens? Well, when we are done executing this, row is going to have the value of 0. And when we come to this code right here, it's going to say, okay, column equals 0. Is 0 less than the length of the first row? So this, remember, when we have this notation right here to the array like this, and when this is a two-dimensional array, when we put an index in here, this essentially gives us the length of this. This essentially gives us a reference to this row right here. All right, and when we hit the dot length method on this row, we're essentially saying, okay, we want the length of the first row, so give it to us. And this is going to give us a value of 5, because if we take a look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have 5 elements within it. All right, I hope you guys are still following along. Like I said, I know this is a a little confusing for most of you. In fact, this was really confusing for me when I first started Java. But trust me, hang in there. You guys can do it. Now, for the next thing, here's what I want to do. I want to essentially print these out, right? I want to print something like this out onto my console. And how can I do that? Well, let's take a look here. The first thing we need to do is system.out.print. And what I want to do now is the following. Essentially, I want to print out the value that is stored in whatever element that we are looking at. So the way I'm going to do this is to the arrays, and I'm going to reference one element in there. So I'm going to reference whichever row it's on and whichever column it's on right now. And with this print statement, remember, it doesn't print it to the next line. Instead, it leaves everything in the same line. So we can use that to our advantage here by doing the following. So at the end here, when I'm done printing, I want to do the following. I want to add this, perhaps a tab, right? And this is how we do tabs. We're going to do this \T, and this is going to indent our text with a tab width. All right, and let's see, what else do we want to do here? Okay. Not in addition to that, I also want to add a tab right before our text here. Okay, and the last thing I want to do is I want to add a pipe. Okay, so this right here is called a pipe, and I'm going to add it right after I indent it with a tab. So, now the next thing I want to do is, as you can see here, at the end of this row, when I'm done printing out all the elements of this row, everything is going to be pushed on to the next row right here. So how do we do that? Well, if you take a look at our code right here, we have this for loop, which essentially represents each iteration through our row. So row 1, row 2, row 3, etc. Now, when our columns are done doing whatever it has to do, in our case, printing out all the elements within the row, the next thing we want to do is, system. We want to create a new line, so we do it simply with the following, just like that. And that is how we create a new line at the end of our columns right here. So I'm going to go ahead and print that, and let's take a look at the values we have here. Now we can see the following. Okay, and we see this 5 right here. It's because of this, so I'm going to go ahead and comment that out. I'm going to run this again. And we can immediately see that this is in fact the same thing as what we have here. So, well, I was going to format it. Well, you know what? I will format it. So if you guys can see, this is essentially the same thing as we have in our two-dimensional array. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Whew, okay, now we're done with that. So at the end of this video, you should know how to properly iterate through a two-dimensional array. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know this was a long video, but trust me, if you still don't understand it, watch it again and again. And in fact, do yourself one better. Go ahead and open up your IDE and mess around with it. This is, well, I wouldn't say this is an important topic, but you will come across it in your programming career, and it is best to master it. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and click that like button. It's really going to help me out. Comment and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.